Patient. Go, Mr. Richardson. Sheriff Geiger, I've handed you what's been marked as Exhibit 2, and could you identify this as being the Loudoun County Handbook, which is applicable to all employees of Loudoun County?
Yes, sir, it appears to be.
Was Officer Richardson given a copy of the Employee Handbook upon his hire?
Yes, sir.
And the first page of that exhibit is an acknowledgement of receipt and understanding. Was that document signed by Mr. Richardson on July 9, 2018?
It appears to be, yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I would move that into evidence as Exhibit 2, please.
Thank you.
All right, now, Sheriff, if you would, I have tabbed a page in Exhibit 2, and also the copy given to Mr. Richardson. Would you please turn to section 6.1 under disciplinary procedures, and would you read that first paragraph, Sheriff?
It is the county's policy to have efficient, orderly, and safe operations. Therefore, all employees must conduct themselves in a professional and responsible manner. Any employee who engages in improper conduct or violates any county or department policy or rule is subject to disciplinary action.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'll tender this back to the court reporter. What position with the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office did Mr. Richardson hold at the time he was terminated in July 2020, Sheriff?
Corrections officer.
Is that a bonded position, Sheriff?
It is.
And what does the term bonded mean in relation to an officer in your department?
He can possess and carry a firearm, and he can also make arrests.
What were his responsibilities as a corrections officer?
Primarily to maintain the welfare and well-being of inmates incarcerated in the jail.
I may approach the court reporter, Mr. Chair, mark this for identification currently as Exhibit 3. Sheriff, has the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office developed operations and procedures for the county jail?
Yes, sir.
Is this a portion of that procedure manual as it relates to conduct and discipline?
Yes, sir.
And the first page of the exhibit, does it reflect that this manual was signed for and received by Officer Richardson on June 15, 2018?
Yes, sir, it appears to be.
Sheriff, I'm going to ask you to turn to the section of Exhibit 3 that has been flagged with the green flag. It says the heading, Conduct Unbecoming. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
If you would, turn over to the next page that describes that, what is conduct unbecoming, and read that for the board, please.
Conduct that adversely affects efficiency, erodes public respect, and reduces confidence in government service is unbecoming and is prohibited.
Thank you, Sheriff. I move that into evidence as Exhibit 3, please. Does the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office have any other general orders or policies that are applicable to the conduct of employees of your office, Sheriff?
Yes, sir.
Mark this for identification as Exhibit 4. Sheriff, I'm handing you what has been marked as Exhibit 4. Can you identify this for the record, please?
The standard operating procedures and policy manual for the sheriff's office.
And is this document given to all employees of the sheriff's office?
Yes, sir.
If you would, Sheriff, turn to the page that has been flagged with a blue flag under C, Professional Conduct and Responsibilities. Next page over right there. Okay. Do you see that section, Sheriff?
I do.
Section C1, Standard of Conduct, what does it say?
Members shall not engage in any conduct which constitutes conduct unbecoming an officer for neglect of duty.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'll move that into evidence as Exhibit 4.
That's the standard operating procedure and policy manual of the sheriff's department.
Yes, that's correct. Sheriff, did you become aware that Mr. Richardson had been involved in an incident on July 4, 2020?
I did.
How did you learn about that incident, Sheriff?
Chief Davis had notified me that there was some people coming in to file a formal complaint against Corrections Officer Richardson on the 6th of July.
And did you receive any documents in relation to those people visiting your office on July 6th?
Yes, sir. We received the complaint itself and some statements from the victim and witnesses.
Was there also a warrant that was provided to you?
They proceeded to obtain a warrant and was issued one that afternoon.
I'd ask that this be marked for identification as Exhibit 5. Sheriff, I'm handing you what's been marked for identification as Exhibit 5. This is a cumulative exhibit of various documents. If you would, let's go through and describe for the board what the first page is.
It's the formal complaint against a department member,
And who was this complaint filed by, and who was it against?
filed by Ms. Heather Kelch against Hamp Richardson.
All right, and what is the second page of exhibit number 5?
It's a copy of a state warrant
And the
versus Joshua Richardson.
And the third page, what is that document?
It's the affidavit of complaint in the warrant.
And if you would, describe in summary fashion the remainder of the documents in Exhibit 5, please, Sheriff. Are they various statements from witnesses to the incident on July 4?
Yes, sir, it appears to be.
We move that into evidence as Exhibit 5.
Sheriff Guider, what is the charge against Mr. Richardson in the
Assault.
assault? Simple assault or
It's just assault.
assault, misdemeanor assault?
Yes. I might add that it has not been heard in court yet.
Does Mr. Richardson have a lawyer in that matter, to your knowledge?
I think he does.
Okay. We'll ask him when he.
Sheriff Guider, did you review the documents in Exhibit 5 on July 6th?
Yes.
And what did you do?
Let me, excuse me, as soon as practical I could, I was on vacation
Okay.
at that time, that week, and
What did the sheriff's department do upon your learning about the altercation or incident that occurred on July 4th? Did you place him on paid administrative leave?
I did, we did, until we could have a pre-decision hearing.
And when was that pre-decision hearing held?
I'm thinking July 16th, possibly.
What was the purpose of this hearing?
Pre-decision hearing is a hearing that we offer all employees who is facing the possibility of disciplinary action. And the hearing is to allow the employee to give their side of the story on what they're there for and offer any recommendation of discipline, or if any.
What is, based on your review of the documents in Exhibit 5, what occurred on July 4 that led you to put Officer Richardson on administrative leave with pay pending this pre-decision hearing? What were the facts that made you place him on leave?
Well, from the statements and the language in the warrant, it was, officers are held at a higher standard than most people, and we've got to conduct ourselves in a good manner all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And from the statements and the information gathered in the warrant, it's clear to me that that was not followed.
What are the particulars of the facts related to the conduct on July 4?
Well, from the information I was given, there was an altercation, physical altercation. And
Between who?
Mr. Richardson and Ms. Kelch.
What occurred in that altercation between Ms. Kelch and Officer Richardson?
Again, it is
Based on the information that
Based
you
on the
provided, the
information.
warrant and the witness statements. I know you weren't there, but what formed your opinion to put him on administrative leave? What about those facts?
well, the fact that he laid hands on Ms. Kelch and pushed her from the statements and his language that he used during the event and was vulgar.
Who was present at the July 16 pre-decision hearing?
Myself, Chief Davis, and Chief Arden, and Mr. Richardson.
What did Mr. Richardson say to you during the hearing on July 16th?
He, as far as what?
Did he deny that he had laid hands on Ms. Kelch?
No, I don't think he denied it. He pretty much admitted to all those things, and even he said that he self-admitted that he should have used better language. The thing that concerned me, and I told him this, and it's really kind of the how I formed my decision was that he said he would do it again.
Did he admit that he pushed or shoved Ms. Kelch?
It's my memory, yes.
And he told you that, regardless of the fact that he admits he used poor judgment, that he would do it again?
Yes, he obviously he will tell his story, and he felt like his dog was his child, and he was protecting his child, and he, like anybody would do, and he would do it again.
Sheriff
So-
Guider, point of interest, how many times did Mr. Richardson touch Ms. Kelch during the altercation?
I wasn't there, so I don't know. I mean, I've heard 3 times.
Is that based on the warrant and the witness statements that you reviewed in formulating your opinion,
Yes.
Sheriff Guider?
Thank you.
What did you do at the conclusion of the pre-decision hearing, Sheriff Guider?
Well, I certainly took everything, considered everything that was in front of me, including all the statements, and made my decision to terminate him based upon those.
Did you reduce your decision to writing?
I did.
Mark this for identification as the next exhibit. Would that be 6? Sheriff Guider, you have been handed what's been marked for identification as Exhibit 6. Could you tell the board what this document is?
It's my decision based on the pre-decision hearing and the information that I had access to, and my decision to terminate based on his standard of conduct.
Did you find his conduct to be unbecoming of an officer on July 4, 2020?
I did.
And why did you think his conduct was unbecoming of an officer?
Well, again, we are 24 hours a day. We're held at a higher standard, and we should conduct ourselves in that manner.
Did you find that Officer Richardson's conduct, as he admitted to you in the hearing on July 16th, and as reflected in the numerous witness statements that you received and the warrant, did you find that his conduct was inappropriate and unbecoming of an officer of your office?
I did.
I would now move Exhibit 6 into the record. Sheriff Guider, you've been the elected sheriff of Loudoun County for 30 years, correct? Close to it?
Yes, sir.
And needless to say, the citizens of Loudoun County put a great deal of faith in your abilities and competencies as the sheriff.
I hope so, yes.
And do the citizens of Loudoun County, through the electing you for 30 years, do they expect you, in your opinion, to hire people who follow the law and obey the law?
Yes, sir.
Do they expect you to hire people who don't lay their hands on someone over an altercation involving a dog fight?
I would hope the think so.
Thank you, Sheriff. No further questions.
Sheriff Guider, can I ask one question? And Mr. Alexander, I think this is something that I have had a serious question about. Was anything, and I'm using this very, very politically correct, I hope, were any adult beverages mentioned as a possibility that day by Mr. Alexander?
Richardson?
I'm sorry.
I had just gotten there.
Okay,
I don't know on her part, but on my part, no.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, at this...
I don't know.
Okay. At this time, I'd move that we publish the exhibits to the members of the board for their review. Nothing further at this time on our behalf.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question or two. Sheriff Guider, I was looking at the Merit Service Board rules and regs, and there's a listing of the punitive disciplinary action on pages 10 and 11, and the termination of Mr. Richardson is the most serious. Were there, did you and Mr. Arden and Mr. Davis contemplate a less serious punishment?
I think we did, based on everything else. Yeah, I understand your question. But based on the severity of what I felt like was the conduct, I felt like termination was enough.
Very well.
I have a question. Does Mr. Richardson have any other incidences or things in his personal record that you know of?
I don't think so.
Any other proof, Mr. Bowman?
No other proof this time.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Richardson would have the opportunity to ask Sheriff Guider questions, or he could testify on his own and give a narrative as to his what happened that day.
So I would
Mr. Richardson?
give you the option.
I'll just give a narrative of what happened.
Please do.
Can I have him stand here so I can hear him, please?
Yeah.
He's
Okay,
got
thank
slowly.
Okay.
On July 4th, went to friends for 4th of July, Logan Hardesty's house. We arrived, we parked along the row of cars that everybody else was parked at. I had brought my dog, as I always do, as I always bring to their house. As I was trying to let my dog out and start getting our stuff out, a dog had came and started barking at my dog. very aggressively. So I kept my dog in the truck, waited for somebody to come get that dog. And as somebody come and got it, I'm guessing it wasn't the owner, it attacked her, it bit her in the hand. So I'm guessing the owner then came over to get the dog, and we kind of corralled it and got the dog. And she had it under control. I let my dog out and went out the front side of the truck. And all of a sudden I just heard barking and everything else. So I ran around the back side of my truck and I saw that her dog was latched onto my dog's back. I jumped on that dog. The dog did not let go, so I punched the dog. And once I punched the dog, I guess she didn't like that and came over and started to attack and push me. So to defend myself and my property, I got up, I pushed her back to get back to the dogs, but then she kept pursuing me. I just held my hands up. I didn't push again, but I held my hands up because she came back yelling, screaming, and cussing at me. And pretty much we just got separated, and I did admit that I did cuss and it was wrong of me. But, you know, certain situations occur, and and that was it. I was told I was asked to leave. I left. When I left, I contacted my supervisor, Ms. Cheryl West, and I contacted a road supervisor, Matthew Fagiana. I wasn't trying to hide anything. I wasn't trying to, get away from it. I just wanted it to be known. But that's pretty much it.
I have a question for you,
Yes,
and based upon, you must love your dog, and I admire you for that. But 4th of July is going to be a very crowded situation around specific homes. Do you think you used good decision in bringing your dog to a large gathering such as this? Or do you think that could have been avoided if you had left the dog at home?
no, sir, because I had brought my dog 2 prior years, the year before and the year before that on 4th of July, and with no incident.
I have a question too. Did you have your dog on a leash,
I had my dog on a shock collar.
on a shock collar?
Yeah, not on a leash. I keep her on a shock collar.
How did the dogs get separated? Were they separated after you punched the dog or what?
Yes, I punched her dog, and then someone came and grabbed my dog. But I'm not exactly sure because I was still
So
holding on
the
to her.
punch of your dog, or the punch on the dog separated the dogs?
Yes,
And then someone grabbed your dog?
grabbed my dog, and then I don't really know who came and grabbed the other dog. But I had it by the collar and stuff still.
Do you think that could have been avoided if you had a leash on your dog in a crowded situation?
Yes,
Can I ask you why you didn't?
it was on my friend's property.
I understand that, but on your friend's property and along with other individuals, certain people at times can be very scared of animals.
Right.
And a leash, I thank you for your answer.
And it is, I believe it is a ordinance that you must have your dog on a leash too. In
Even
a
on
public,
property.
in a public
Gathering place.
gathering place.
What type of dogs are we talking about, Mr. Richardson?
Mine is a chocolate lab, and hers is
Yeah, what is hers?
a mutt. I don't know,
How big is your lab?
60 pounds.
All right. And just guess the mutt, how big was the mutt?
60 pounds.
So they were equal size, so to speak, probably.
Correct.
And And that, there's no doubt that that dog came to you, I think, or it came to your dog.
Yes,
No dispute as to that.
with no leash.
Okay. I found the affidavit of complaint that, was taken out by Ms. Kelch, and she said, Mr. Richardson parked on my property for a gathering at our neighbors on July 4th.
Correct, that's what she stated, but I have property lines.
Okay, so, well, parked on my property, where, does that mean in her yard, or was it a big party where,
It's separated right down the middle in between the two properties. And, I mean, it was right in front of the tree. I know exactly where I was parked, and I have property lines from the state.
okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not clear on this. Were you on your friend's
I was on my
property?
friend's property, correct.
Okay, so you were not on Ms. Kelch's property,
I was not,
you were on your friend's property.
correct.
Mr. Kelch, if you had been sworn in, you could have given testimony or answered questions, but since you did not go through that procedure, we would not be allowed to take any information or
Okay,
things.
I wish he would have sworn me in so I could have contested these lies, but
That was your prerogative, sir.
Mr. Bowman, it's your opportunity to.
Cross.
I'm
sorry.
I don't, they had other questions.
Yeah, so I just want to get facts clear, and I do want to see the report that, the statements. You went to a friend's party, okay, so was it, I'm just asking this, were the Kelches invited to the same party? Is
They're
that?
the neighbors of,
They were at the neighbors, so they were not at this party?
no, ma'am.
Okay, so you were at a party of a friend's,
Correct.
okay,
Yeah, and they're the neighboring house.
and the neighboring house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Were the Kelches having a party too, or
Yes,
something?
ma'am, they do every year.
Okay, so there were two separate parties going on at two separate places.
Yes. I mean, it's separate places, but it's pretty much the same location, but it's just a
I'm
big.
just trying to get a picture.
Right, it's just a big field along the bank with two different separate docks. And there's just a property line going through the middle.
Down toward the dock.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's just going through the middle of the properties all the way up to the road. So,
Well, my question, if you had been at that residence before, do you think it was a good decision should you have tried to take your dog on your friend's property instead of getting out to avoid any problems or anything during that day?
I'm sorry, repeat that.
Where you parked, you had a dog in the truck, you think it would have been better to try to have made accommodations with your friend? I have my dog, I need to park in the driveway or something like that. Could that have been done to avoid any incident?
I don't really follow because everybody parks in the same place every year.
Okay.
I do have a question. Did you not say at the beginning that you had gotten out of your truck and there was some kind of altercation with the dog before this incident happened?
Yes,
Okay, will you tell me that one more time?
ma'am. When I got out of the truck, I'd opened the back door and that dog came and started barking at my dog. And you just tell it was not a friendly bark.
Aggressive.
And so I shut the door, I helped her corral the dog, or, I'm sorry, somebody came first to try and get the dog. Well, it bit that lady that had tried to come get the dog. Well, and then the owner, Ms. Kelch, came and tried to get the dog, and we ended up getting the dog corralled, and she had it by the collar.
So was this Mrs. Kelch's dog that had bit somebody or barked?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I let my dog out once it was under control, and it went straight to,
Okay, what do you call under control? Was it on leash? Was it with somebody? Was
it
it
was
in a
with somebody,
pen?
and she had it by the collar and under control in between her feet.
Okay.
And then I let my dog out and it went straight to the other dog, or like straight in front of the truck. The way my truck was parked against like the back of her property line, and then when I let it out, it went to the front side. So the whole front is my friend's property.
Did it ever occur to you at that point when you saw that from the moment you got there, there was a little altercation with the dogs, that it might be a good idea not to get the dog out and take the dog back home? Just a consideration. Had you thought about that? Because I know I've had dogs, and if I take my dog in a public place and I have an aggressive dog, all of a sudden I put my dog up or something, because I don't want my baby to get bit or get into a fight. But you felt like at that time that there was enough control that you got your dog out?
Yes, ma'am.
Anytime you get out with your dog, do you have a leash on your dog?
Yes.
Why didn't you not have that on your dog that day, may we ask?
Just the prior 2 years, they have dogs, they play together, and they all play fetch and run in the water in and out, and while we're on the water, they're in and out of the water. They just never.
Having a good time.
Mr. Richardson, what's the status of the assault case?
September 22nd is the next hearing.
And who's your lawyer in that?
It got moved to Roane County.
Okay.
I'm drawing a blank right now, I'm sorry.
Either Judge Stevens or Judge Humphreys is gonna hear the case, and
I don't know what judge, I'm trying to think of my lawyer's name, I'm just drawing a blank.
that's all right.
Um,
But were you appointed a lawyer, or did you hire one?
I hired one.
I'd like to ask Sheriff Ryder this question, if I may.
John McFarland, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sheriff Ryder, during your sitting down with Mr. Richardson, was there any mention of Ms. Kelch pushing him or anything during the altercation?
No, not at our pre-decision hearing.
So you're saying they were?
100%.
Why would you have said that today and not in the disposition?
I did.
You did?
Yes, sir, 100%. It was recorded, if we have to pull the recording.
Thank you.
So when did she come up behind you while you
No,
had the dog?
We came from two opposite sides.
Or when did you first put hands on Miss Kelch?
After she had pushed me, when I had had the dog, after I'd hit the dog, she came and pushed me. So I had got up and pushed her back in self-defense to get back to my dogs and defend my property. But the dogs were already split up, so I mean, there was nothing to get back to. So,
Can I ask you a question?
yes,
With the training and everything that goes on in the sheriff's department, do you think you represented the sheriff's department that day as Sheriff Guider and others have stated by your actions?
I feel like that's the double-sided question.
It's meant yes or no. I'll put it in layman's term. Do you think you should have backed away being a deputy because you have to adhere to policy stated by the sheriff's department in conduct. That's not a double that's one question, simple yes or no would be fine.
Yes, I do.
You do? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bowman?
If I may, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Richardson, you will agree that one of the primary roles of the Loudoun Sheriff's Office is to maintain law and order in Loudoun County, correct?
Correct.
You would agree that Sheriff Guider is entitled to expect his law enforcement officers to meet a higher standard in the conduct of their lives than ordinary citizen, correct?
Correct.
Now, you admitted to Sheriff Guider, as he's testified today, that you shoved Ms. Kelch twice, correct?
Negative.
You're saying that the sheriff's testimony under oath is not true.
Correct.
Did you admit to Sheriff Guider that you cussed Ms. Kelch?
Yes.
You did cuss Ms. Kelch. Is that correct? In that oral answer.
Yes.
In Exhibit 5, Ms. Kelch's statement, she says that you stood up and shoved her very hard in the chest and came at her cussing. Did you do that?
I did not.
Says that you proceeded to tell him, she proceeded to tell you that you were on her property and, quote, he shoved me again in the chest and puffed his chest out with his fist balled up before my cousin, close quote. Did you do that?
I did not.
So Ms. Kelch is in this witness statement and all the other witnesses who, there are multiple witness statements here. All these people are lying that you did that. Is that your testimony?
Have you read my witness statements?
I've read all these statements. Do you deny that you came at her 2 times and shoved her?
Yes.
And you did, but you don't deny that you cussed her?
No.
And do you admit that you told Sheriff Guider in the pre-decision hearing if you had to do it again, you'd do the same thing?
I did say that, yes.
Do you admit that Sheriff Guider should expect his officers to exercise good judgment when they're out in public?
Yes.
And you admit that you are bonded, you were a bonded law enforcement officer, correct?
I was.
You had the duty to arrest, correct?
Correct.
And you had the right to carry a weapon, correct?
Correct.
And in shoving a member of the public of Loudoun County and cussing this person over a dog fight, is it your testimony to this board that you exercised good judgment on July 4, 2020 during this incident?
No further.
No, you've got to answer that question.
You must answer the question.
I must answer the
Yes.
question.
This
Okay,
is your-
repeat it.
Can you read it back, Ms. Reporter?
Question, and in shoving a member of the public of Loudoun County and cussing this person over a dog fight, is it your testimony to this board that you exercised good judgment on July 4, 2020 during this incident?
Yes.
And you do that again. That was your testimony to Sheriff Guider in the pre-decision hearing.
Yes.
No further questions.
I have another, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So do you think, as a officer of the Loudoun County Sheriff Department, did you handle yourself properly that day? Do you feel like you handled yourself properly that day?
To 100%, no, sir. I was defending myself and my property.
You have shown a tremendous love for your animal, you'd be complimented on that, but that's all I can say.
Mr. Richardson, is that any type of emotional support animal or special animal for you? It's just your canine friend?
Just my dog.
Mr. Goldman, you,
I have no further questions.
All right.
Mr. Richardson.
so I think since we allowed him to do a narrative, we're back to you now. Do you have any further witnesses to put on?
Well, I'd like to have Ms. Kelch sworn and put her on as a witness.
I think that's allowable,
If it's-
Mr. or
If
Chairman
it would be
Mears.
admissible, that's certainly good.
And then, I think Mr. Richardson has a witness here too, that was there that day.
She did take the oath.
All right.
So,
Yes, it's permissible.
okay,
Come on up, Ms. Kelch,
Ms.
and,
Kelch.
Mr. Bowman, where do you want Ms.
Why don't
Kelch?
you stand right there at the podium so she can be heard?
Okay.
She did raise her hand, and she was back there, but
okay.
Were you sworn
I
in, Ms.
was not
Kelch?
sworn in, no.
All right.
Would you raise your hand, please? You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
If you would, state your name for the record, please.
My name is Heather Kelch,
And where do you reside, Ms. Kelch?
1201 East Dubuque Drive, Loudon.
And were you present on July 4, 2020, at a party on the lake where Mr. Richardson was in attendance?
I was on my property, yes.
I'm going to move this microphone down so that everyone can hear you. If you would, please tell the board what time you arrived at the party that day.
It's my property, so I was there from the beginning. There is actually 3 properties there. We own where our dock is located. There's that property. There's a middle property, which is a lot, which we also own, which is where the barn and the cars were parked, where he was talking about. And then there's another property, which is our neighbor's property. So everybody that was parked there was parked on our property.
What time did Mr. Richardson arrive?
I can't really remember what time, 3 maybe? It was later in the afternoon, I'm not sure.
And
Our party, I think, started at noon.
what type of vehicle did he arrive in?
It
if
was
you
a
recall?
truck.
Okay. Who arrived with him?
His girlfriend, I'm assuming it's his girlfriend.
And when he arrived at the party, where did he park his vehicle?
It was on my property.
And what happened once Mr. Richardson exited his vehicle? What occurred?
Well, just to correct what the statement that he had, my dog was on my property and she did go to his truck. And my sister did try to get her to come, because she was barking at the truck. My sister did try to get her to come. She did not come. She did not bite her. She snapped at her because she grabbed her at her collar. She is a rescue dog. She's been abused, so you can't grab her by the collar. She didn't bite her. She snapped at her. My sister came back, so I went to go get her. She's kind of going in circles around the car. I apologized to Mr. Richardson, and I got to the passenger side and I got her laid down. I didn't have her by the collar at that point in time. I had her laid down, because when she's upset, you can't just grab her by the collar and lead her away. So she was laying down at that time, and I was petting her belly to try to get her calmed down and figure out a way to get her to the house.
What
And
type of dog do you have?
it's just
and
a-
how much does it weigh?
She weighs about 60 to 70 pounds. It is just a mutt. Like I said, she's a rescue dog.
And what type of dog does Mr. Richardson have?
I think it was a chocolate lab.
About how much does that dog weigh, if you know?
They seemed equal in size.
So what happened when Mr. Richardson got out of the vehicle?
Mr. Richardson got out of the vehicle and opened his back door, and that's when my dog went up to his car to the back door where she saw the dog. And that is the time that my sister went to try to get her the first time.
When did you first have an interaction with Mr. Richardson after he got out of the vehicle?
Well, when I was trying to get the dog, I apologized to him because she was just barking, going in circles. So that was the first time I said anything to him.
And what did Mr. Richardson do?
I think he shut his door at that time so that I could get the dog.
Did you two at any time have words?
No, we did not talk. I mean, other than that.
Okay. What happened next that led to the confrontation that we're here about tonight?
Okay, so as I'm petting my dog, trying to get her calmed down, he lets his dog out unleashed. We are still on my property. And his dog comes to my dog as she's laid on her back when I'm petting her and comes at her. So I really had no choice at that point but to let her up because his dog came at my dog. I let her up so that she wasn't on her back, and they started fighting. I started trying to get my dog, and I'm not sure, but I think it was his girlfriend that was out of the truck tried to get their dog. As we're trying to get them separated, Mr. Richardson comes behind his truck, shoves me off of my dog, and I think he threw his dog away, gets on top of my dog. He is sitting on top of her head and proceeds to punch her in her hind side 3 to 4 times.
Let me just be so clear. His dog was already removed from the zone of danger and he was punching your dog?
Yes, because
All right, what
he
happened?
separated them. He threw when he did that, he threw his dog off, sat on top of Hannah's head, and started punching her in the back 3
Okay.
to 4 times. I can't remember the exact amount of times.
What happened next after he was punching your dog 3 or 4 times after his dog had already removed itself from the zone of safety, away from the danger?
I did kind of try to shove him off of her and told him to get I did say the H word, off of my dog. And that's when he stood up, and my dog did not come back at him. My mother had got there at that point to get her, and he shoved me. And that's when he started to say some pretty vulgar words, and I told him that he was on my property. It was very confusing that someone would come at me like that when they were on my property, and then he shoved me again.
Ms. Kelch, it's obvious that you are a lady and you don't use words like this, but it's important for this case, and I can assure you Ms. Patterson has heard worse, the court reporter. What did he say to you? What words did he use?
I can't even remember the exact words, but I know he used the F word. I think he said GD. I didn't write it in my statement because I didn't want to really say all those words. So I don't really remember the exact words. I do remember those particular ones. The only cuss word that I said was the H word. I don't cuss, and I don't drink, so I was not intoxicated.
How many total times did Mr. Richardson lay hands on you on July 4th?
He pushed me to get me off of the dog, so he pushed me away. And
Was
then-
did he push you away before he got on your dog and started striking your dog with his hand?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
all right, so that's one time he shoved you away.
yes,
How many other times did he lay hands on you?
2 times after that.
Okay, and to tell the board the precise nature of how he laid hands on you the second and the third time.
When he stood up, as I was trying to get him off of Hannah, as he was punching her, he stood up and he shoved me hard in my chest right here. And I took a couple steps back as I come back and because he's still coming at me.
Is he
And-
still using foul and vulgar language as he's laying hands on you?
Yes.
All right, so that's the second time he shoved you and laid hands on you. What about the third time?
And then, as I'm telling him, he's on my property and he's still like that, that's when he shoves me again.
At that point, was he still using foul and offensive and vulgar language?
Yes.
For purposes of the record, and I would not do this other than the fact that we have a court reporter here and we were trying to establish a record, how old are you, ma'am?
I am 38,
How tall are you?
5'4" and a half, I think.
And how much do you weigh?
140, 135, 140 now.
What did Mr. Richardson do after the third time that he shoved or pushed you?
At that point in time, people had came over to separate us, to separate the confrontation that was going on. And then he proceeded to go to our neighbor's property. And his dog was already over there at that point.
Did he remain at the property or did he leave?
He taunted a little bit until.
What do you mean he taunted? Did he taunt you?
He was taunting me, yes.
What was he saying to taunt you?
Like, good job. I don't remember exactly what he was saying, but he was like, good job, as if he wasn't, because I was saying, I want him gone. I do not want him. I don't want him on my property. I don't want him I do not want him here. And my neighbors were in the river at their dock as they were coming up to see all this.
Did he leave?
Yes, they asked them to leave, and he did leave.
How long have you been a citizen and resident of Loudoun County?
38 years.
And do you pay taxes in Loudoun County?
I do pay taxes in London.
What is your expectation as a citizen of Loudoun County of the standards that Sheriff Guider should set for his officers?
I would not expect for an officer to come on my property and attack me.
Did you find Mr. Richardson's conduct to be unbecoming of a police officer or corrections officer in Loudoun County?
Very much so. That's what's very concerning.
And were there others at the party who also expressed concern about Mr. Richardson's actions in relation to pushing and shoving you 3 times and
Bob,
using foul?
let's don't get into what others said.
Oh.
Mr. Bowman.
I
I'm sorry.
understand. I take it you're making a sua sponte objection to hearsay.
Yes.
Okay. But you found his conduct unbecoming.
I did find his conduct unbecoming, and there was other officers there that also found his conduct unbecoming.
Did you go to the sheriff's office to file a complaint?
I did on Monday.
And that has been, I'll show you what's been marked previously as exhibit. Exhibit 5. Is that the complaint that you filed at the sheriff's office?
Yes,
And did you also file a criminal warrant regarding Mr. Richardson?
I did.
Did you have to take off time from work or from your duties at home to go to the sheriff's office to do this?
I do. I work during the week, yes.
Okay, so did you have to take time off in order to file this complaint?
In essence, yes, I do.
Okay. So was that important to you, and you were that upset that you took time off from work to file this complaint with the sheriff's office?
I definitely feel it was important to not only me, but to the other citizens of Loudoun County, yes.
Some further questions?
Have you seen Mr. Richardson prior to this day with his dog on that property as was stated before?
I have not seen him on the property, but that, I don't know if he's been on that property.
Have you seen the dog around him when he's over at his friend's home?
I've not seen that dog, that I recall. I don't know. They do have dogs, so, I mean, he might have been there.
Ms. Kelch, I think Mr. Richardson said, and I just want to make sure that I'm correct, he said that your dog had a hold of his dog. Is that correct?
No, they were going at each other. There was never a latch. Mine did not have any bite marks from the other dog. I don't know if he took his to the vet for any bite marks. I don't think that there was any skin broke or anything like that.
Did you end up taking your dog to the vet after
I did not take my dog to the vet.
him punching it?
No. And we kept her in the house the rest of the day and just monitored her. I did not seek medical attention for the dog now.
Any further? Mr. Richardson, you would have the opportunity to
Ask her a question.
cross-examine Ms. Kelch. You don't want to ask her any questions.
Did you get that as a no? Ms. Kelch, you can sit down.
Any additional witnesses, Mr. Bowman?
No further witnesses, Mr. Chair.
I
Mr.
think
Henry.
Were you going to testify for Mr. Richardson today?
Yeah, I can.
Mr. Richardson, you may call your girlfriend and then ask her questions, and then Mr. Bowman will get the opportunity to cross-examine her. So she's your witness now, so you can call her and ask her. And you've been sworn, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Will you state her name again?
I'm perfectly okay with her giving a narrative if you want. I don't expect Mr. Richardson to know that.
Yes,
Rules
all
are
right,
not
that's
presented.
very kind of you, Mr. Bowman. You can tell this board what you observed that day on July 4th, and tell us your name and where you live, and then tell us what you saw.
My name is Lorena Cummings. I reside in Maryville, that's where my home is, but I'm in Loudon frequently. I work for the state here in Loudon, and he lives in the North City, so I'm here for the.
Can you step up just a little closer to the mic? Thank you. Yeah. That's fine. No, don't be nervous.
That's not our purpose tonight.
If she needs to take a break to gather herself, I'm perfectly fine with that, Mr. Chair.
Would you like to take a break?
Mr. Richardson, would you like to take a break for a moment?
We could take a 10-minute recess, Mr. Richardson, if you wanted to, or we could, 5 minutes, or,
It's 5 minutes, that'd be fine.
all right,
Okay,
let's reconvene here at 7:15.
okay. There is restrooms and things out in the hallway.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Anita Green.
A-N-I-T-A-G-R-E-E-N.
Yes.
Okay.
Kelly Brewster.
K-E-L-L-Y.
BREWSTER.
If we prosecute
every liar.
David Beard.
That'd be a good one.
Got some lawyers.
And then
Yeah.
John
Maybe to talk.
It wouldn't be any longer, so, yeah. They'd all be in jail.
thank you.
The commission asked you to put him in. I mean, they did what they were supposed to do.
Treated her that way.
What, do you know? Think so? And,
Do we get to look at the,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I asked if they be published too.
You
They can have them
all,
anytime.
you all can,
pick up?
take all the time you want to discuss it.
Oh,
I
thank
would
you.
think you're probably better to discuss it in public, to be honest with you.
That's all I need to hear.
Sunshine law and transparency, and we can talk about the pros and cons of the presentation. The criteria would be, did the sheriff have reason for termination, and if so, did he comply with the rules of the merit board?
Mr. Hinton, another thing we can do, I mean, they don't have to reach a decision tonight. We could get the transcript, have it sent to the board members. They could come back and reconvene and issue an oral decision.
Right.
Because we have to have the transcript for the final order. So they're willing to do that.
It's September.
Yeah, September.
Second.
Mary, how soon could you have this transcript?
When do you need it?
How soon could you do that?
Normal delivery is 2 weeks, but, if you need it before then.
Could you get it by, this is Thursday, could you get it by Tuesday? Is that too soon?
How much longer are we going? No,
For
pretty
what
much
purpose?
fine.
Probably not much.
For what purpose?
To type it, so the board could get it and read it and then come back and render their decision, if that's what they want to do. I don't know.
Okay, so you,
Yeah, Monday, we're not
I
doing
just,
Mondays.
let you know that
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be here next week, so you
Yeah, I know.
take it easy on yourself.
Well,
Take it easy
what about,
on-
how about Wednesday? What about
I'm leaving
Wednesday?
the end of the week.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
yeah,
oh,
either
yeah.
one,
If we
whatever.
got the transcript Wednesday, we could email it out and then come back the next week, if that's what you want to do.
I think everyone's in agreement, we can render a decision tonight.
Okay, well, that's fine. That's fine. Fine.
And that one question I asked, Danny Van Ryn.
Bob, you have the girlfriend's name?
I do.
Didn't say it.
Didn't understand it.
I got Miranda.
Okay.
It's in this packet. Miranda, L-A-R-A-N-D-A, Cummings, C-U-M-M-I-N-G-S.
She's probably hoping to speak up a little bit,
C-U-M-M-I-N-G-O.
but she's doing real good. Still at the school, so
L-A-R-A-N-D-O.
hoping and praying that the
A-N-D-A.
schools get to stay open. I really do hope that it works out.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that's
Does
pretty
she,
good.
think about retiring anytime?
Well, she would retire anytime, but, you know, you got bills to pay, so you gotta work. I said, just make it till you can have, insurance, which, once you have insurance.
No, I have to tell you, you may not know this, she's my girlfriend. It's
Oh, no, I didn't,
great.
oh, I didn't know that she was your third grade girlfriend.
She might not know you.
I would ask her about that.
She might not know.
Oh, that's
Or-
funny.
Or I might not have been her boyfriend.
You never know in third grade.
But no, she's right. Oh, great.
She lives out there next to us now, so it's really nice. Yeah, she, built a little house out there next to where we live, so it's nice to have her right next to
Yeah,
us.
he himself didn't think he could
Yeah.
do it.
She's here, my dad's here, and we're here, so.